All right, come on in, pull up a chair, and let's talk about something that has been debated in the military for generations. A question that comes up in barracks, in officer clubs, in leadership meetings, and even around family dinner tables. Who actually builds wealth in the military? Is it officers or is it enlisted? Now, most people think that they know the answer to this question. They assume officers automatically win the conversation. After all, officers earn more money, their base pay is higher, their promotion track often leads to significantly larger salaries. And when you compare a full 20-year career, an officer's lifetime earnings can be dramatically higher than an enlisted service member. So at first glance, the answer seems obvious. But here's the interesting thing, folks. When you start studying the financial lives of military members, you begin to realize something that's very important. Income alone does not determine wealth. In many cases, there are enlisted service members who build far more wealth than officers. So today, let's have an honest conversation, officers versus enlisted, the wealth path, and the financial habits that actually determine who succeeds financially after military career. The misconception about income, one of the biggest financial misconceptions people have, is believing that income equals wealth. Well, folks, I can tell you that is absolutely not the truth. Income doesn't. Income simply means how much money you earn. Wealth is what you keep. And the difference is extremely important because someone can earn a very high income and still struggle financially, while someone else can earn a modest income and build significant wealth over time. So you see this everywhere in society. Doctors, for example, they earn enormous salaries and are deeply in debt. I've often said it's not what you make, it's what you keep. Teachers with moderate incomes who retire comfortably, entrepreneurs who go bankrupt, and workers with steady habits who build strong investment portfolios. So the real question is not simply who earns more. The real question is who manages money is something that's very important in understanding military pay. Officers do earn more base pay than enlisted service members. That's simply the design of the military pay system. An officer typically begins their career as a second lieutenant. Even at that entry level, their base pay is higher than a junior enlisted service member. As officers progress through their ranks, their salaries increase significantly. You got captains and majors, then you have lieutenant colonel, and after that, you go on to general, colonel, and then general. Each promotion brings a higher level of compensation, but base pay is only one part of the military compensation. Military members also receive basic allowance for housing, basic allowance for substance, healthcare benefits, tax advantages, educational opportunities, and retirement benefits. Now, when you combine all of these benefits, military compensation becomes extremely powerful. But here's something important to understand. Both officers and enlisted receive these benefits, which means, folks, that both groups have the opportunity to build wealth. Lifestyle inflation is something you have to watch out for, however. Okay, let's talk about that. Something that quietly destroys wealth for many people is lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation happens when your spending rises with your income, so you earn more money. You buy a bigger house, so you earn more money. So you buy more expensive cars. You earn more money, and your entire lifestyle becomes more expensive. And before long, the higher income just poof, disappears. Hence, lifestyle inflation. It just creeps up, and then you just lose it all. Because every dollar coming in is matched by a dollar going out. And this happens to both officers and enlisted service members, but officers often face an additional pressure. What is that? The expectation. The expectation to live at a certain level, to maintain a certain lifestyle, trying to keep up with the Joneses. And sometimes that expectation can lead to financial decisions that are not always wise. Now, the discipline advantage is something that is a key thing to remember. Now, over the years, I have seen enlisted service members build extraordinary financial security, not because they earn massive salaries, but because they practice discipline. I've often told the story of my father who served during the Korean War era and early parts of Vietnam, and he was an enlisted service member. In fact, he was a cook. And off of his salary as an enlisted cook in the Army, he was able to save money and was frugal enough to actually be in the position where officers would come to him and borrow money and have to pay him back with interest, And so you got to understand that you need to live below your means in order to achieve and fight against this lifestyle inflation. You want to avoid unnecessary debt. Is something that all people who try to counter this lifestyle inflation have to do. They also invest consistently. They focus on long-term financial stability, and over time, those habits created real wealth. Now, the power of the thrift savings plan is another important thing to keep in mind. One of the greatest financial tools available to military members is the thrift savings plan, or TSP. The TSP allows service members to invest in low-cost index funds. Now, these funds grow over time, and when contributions are made consistently, year after year, the power of compound growth becomes incredible. And that's something that everybody needs to understand. Someone who begins investing early in their military career, even modest amounts, can accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars by retirement. And that is something both officers and enlisted members can take advantage of. Now we're going to talk about a secret weapon. That's time. Time is a secret weapon. One of the biggest financial advantages military members have is time. Many people begin their military careers in their early 20s. That means they have decades for investments to grow, and compound growth is incredibly powerful over long periods of time. The earlier someone begins investing, the greater the long-term results, which means the real advantage is not rank. The real advantage is starting early and remaining consistent. The military retirement advantage is another major factor in military wealth that is in the retirement system. Okay, let's talk about that. You have a 20-year military career provides something that has become increasingly rare in the world today. What is that? It's a pension. Now, that pension begins immediately upon retirement, often in someone's early 40s. That means, and that also, by the way, you could actually start getting your pension at 38. And how do I know that? Well, I know people who've done that. Also, if you join the military at 18, you do 20 years, you do the math, you're 38. Think about that. 38 years old and getting a pension for life. You combine that with VA disability, and you're talking easily someone who has no college education can retire and have income of over $7,000 a month for the rest of their life as their floor. And then everything they do after that is just icing on the cake. No, so that means a military retiree may receive this income in their 40s, and then when the pension is combined with other personal investments, the financial impact can be extraordinary. And again, this benefit is available to both officers and enlisted service members. So what's the real wealth equation? Who builds more wealth in the military? Okay, is it officers? Is it enlisted? The real question looks like this: income plus discipline plus time plus investing rank influences outcome, but income alone does not determine financial success. The other three factors matter just as much, sometimes even more. So the advice I have for service members currently in the military, let me offer a few pieces of advice. Live below your means, people. Don't worry about keeping up for the Joneses. Don't try to impress people that could care less about you. Okay? You want to avoid unnecessary debt. You want to take advantage of the thrift savings plan. And remember that financial success is not about impressing these people who don't like you, could care less about you. It's about building security for tomorrow. So the officer versus enlisted conversation is interesting, but the truth is much simpler than people think. Both officers and enlisted service members can build substantial wealth, and both can struggle financially, because in the end, wealth is not determined by rank, it is determined by discipline. All right, my friends, this is the Adjutant. If you found this conversation helpful, make sure you subscribe, because on this channel, we talk about military life, military benefits, and how to build wealth while serving your country. Until next time, take care of yourself and take care of each other. I wish you blessings and blessings. Shalom.